back, everybody. Day behind this week. I was in some training for work up in Grand Haven, away from all of my toys and goodies and all of that fun stuff. So took a day away from streaming, but we're back. And we are live and rocking and rolling. The chat windows are open. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Mixer, Twitch. You name it. We are rolling on it. Thought we had the Discord going, but apparently not. But that's all right. That's quite all right. We're good with that. Okay. So where we left off. We left off having made a pretty sizable offer to Carl Anderson to join the roster. Also, we just finished up another round of TV to a B rating, and we are 2 days away from our August 2020 pay-per-view, one night only. And also in this episode, we're going to be talking about Final Resolution 2008, the TNA pay-per-view, as we continue to chronicle the TNA Impact, GFW, NWA, TNA pay-per-views, monthly pay-per-views. We didn't do the weeklies because good lord, there's a ton of them. And it essentially took the place of TV at that point. Also in this episode, I'm going to kind of go a little off script and a little off standard what we're used to. Before we get started in-game, I kind of want to talk about the fan response to Hell in a Cell, and which aired on Sunday night, and the subsequent Monday Night Raw. I'll start with the following Monday Night Raw, just because it's the easiest one to address. I get that there's a brand split draft coming, and I get that they're on two separate networks, and I get all of that. You don't need to shove it down my throat 88 times a day or per episode with the Street Profits doing all of that stuff. And, you know, it just... And then you come out and you have guys who... I shouldn't say get regular TV time, or should get regular TV time, but guys who don't normally get regular TV time coming out and making this case like they're going to be the top picks in the draft when we know Apollo Crews is not going to be the number one pick in the draft unless you're going alphabetical, and even then he's still not number one. Not taking away anything from his talent, and he showed that last night. Apollo Crews is an incredibly talented performer and an incredibly talented athlete. However, I don't know if the style in which guys like him and Ricochet and even to a certain extent AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt, the way that they work and the way that they operate, I don't know if it works in the WWE universe, if that makes sense. Because when you watch different promotions, you can see that a good number of them have a different style in which they work. You've got WWE, who will tell you until they're blue in the face that they don't have faces and heels, and everybody sort of lives in a gray area. That's not true. 100,000% that is not true. AJ Styles, for instance, was a shiny babyface heel. Then he sort of morphed into this, maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's a bad guy. Then he went into a heel turn, then he went back to a babyface. Now he's back with a blatant heel turn. And there's not a whole lot of guys left that sort of live in that gray area. Like, I don't want to cheat to win, but I will if I have to. F the police, F Vince McMahon, F the authority, blah, 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 whatever, And so that guys like Apollo Crews and guys like AJ and guys like, Ricochet don't need to be a face. They don't need to be a heel. They don't need to be anything. They just need to be themselves. And that doesn't really mesh too well in the world of WWE. So where I'm going with that is I feel like maybe NXT is the better place for a lot of those guys, and get NXT from away from being a developmental territory. Sure, you can have developmental components to it, maybe less storylines and more in-ring performance. And I say less storylines, I mean less promo work, less vignettes, less stuff like that. Unless you're debuting a new character or it's something that somebody has been working on backstage with someone and they want to give it a run, just to kind of test the waters, by all means. But I think the NXT brand needs to be where your indie kids play. That needs to be their playground. Let them go nuts with their indie style. You don't necessarily have a specific company style in which you work, where the heel starts off, with like a cheap shot, and they get the upper hand, and they just beat on him and beat on him and beat on him, and then there's this huge, they get all their shine. Then there's this huge moment where the baby face gets a little bit of a powder, and then he just starts coming back, and then he does all of his moves, and then maybe the heel will hit a finisher or a signature move or whatever the hell you want to call it, and then the baby face will kick out, and then the baby face does their stuff, gets their shine, 1, 2, 3, submission, whatever, match is over. And that's sort of the WWE style. You look at like New Japan, and to a lesser extent, because they just have a lesser body of work, AEW. It's hard-hitting, both sides, everybody's just themselves. They may have heel aspects, they may have babyface aspects. Chris Jericho is a great example of that. He came down to the ring, he's smiling, he's laughing, he's joking, he's having a good time. That ready to take on the world mentality of a babyface with the big smile and all of that. It's not Chris Jericho. But he also had aspects where you wanted to hate him. But then he's got moments where, it's Chris Jericho. You're going to love him. He's over. That's why it was so hard for guys like The Rock and guys like Roman and guys like Steve Austin to float back and forth between babyface and heel. And then you run into a situation where if somebody is a monster babyface and they're super over and they're selling merch like it's going out of style, like a John Cena, it's almost impossible to say, jump off that money train and turn him heel. That's why John Cena has been a babyface, save for a couple of one-offs over the last decade. Because that money train ain't stopping, and Vince ain't getting off anytime soon. Now, with that all said, I think the draft aspect, you want to separate your talent, great. If that gives some of the guys who don't necessarily need to be on TV every single week, but should be on TV every now and again to get them eyes and get that look and that feel, great. By all means, you need to have a definitive upper tier portion of talent that's on TV every week, no exceptions. And then you've got sort of this mid to lower mid portion of the card, which might be on every other week, every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. Maybe they get over, maybe they don't. Maybe they get a win here and there, maybe they don't. But they're there, and they're visible, and they can show off that talent beyond dark matches and house shows. And, with that, shifting gears to crowds. And more along the lines of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I personally liked certain aspects of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I certainly, by any stretch of the imagination, do not think that this particular pay-per-view was, at least the way it was laid out, the way it was constructed, was the method you wanted to run with post AEW debut. The AEW debut, whether it was the fact that it was the very first episode, that historic moment, they got better ratings than you did on NXT. Now, granted, NXT has not been on TV nearly as long as, SmackDown or Raw, but it's been available on the network. And they have a great product, arguably the best product WWE has right now in NXT. But to follow that up, just, 3 days later, with that kind of a pay-per-view, where, the storylines and the drama leading into it were pretty good. You were riding a nice little wave of momentum, and you were looking good, and everything was going your way. And it looked like, yeah, okay, maybe WWE has greased up their head and removed it from their anus so that they can actually put a product on the screen that keeps eyeballs glued to it. And it took a kick in the pants from AEW to make that happen. And then you have Hell in a Cell. I liked the story that the main event told up to where they were getting ready to go home, and Seth was doing curb stomp after curb stomp, pedigree, super kick, ripcord knee, insert finisher that he's used throughout his career, and Bray keeps kicking out and kicking out and kicking out. I get it. You want to book Bray as this unstoppable machine, but now you've made Seth look like a punk. Like, nothing he does works. But the story told up to that, where Bray was this unstoppable monster as the Fiend. If you wanted Seth to win, there are better ways to do that than to do this dusty finish where it's a no DQ match that somehow ends in a DQ. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. For that particular story, at least in my eyes anyway, it didn't. And I don't know where WWE is going with this. So it may all piece together in the end. I don't know. But, dude, really? Archer, be quiet. I have no idea what he's growling at, but he needs to get his head out of his tail. Hey! Yo! Quiet. Unbelievable. I'm in the middle of a rant here! Come on. Anyway, so towards the end of the match, where they're starting to go home and they're starting to wrap it up, and the sledgehammer and everything, and they end the match with the dusty finish, and then you've got the crowd chanting AEW. Immediately following the main event match of your first pay-per-view post AEW Wednesday Night War, whatever you want to call it, era. They had blood for the sake of having blood. There was no real point to it, and it didn't come natural. It was staged. Everybody knew it. It looked like crap. I mean, it looked like slightly below B-grade horror movie level. Everybody knew it was a blood capsule. I mean, when has, in the history of the Mandible Claw, has that move ever, A, drawn blood, other than maybe like a busted lip or somebody bit their tongue or something? And B, when it did draw blood, it drew that much blood. What the hell was that? So I think for the crowd chanting AEW, and then there were some reports that after the pay-per-view went dark and the show continued for just the people in the arena, they were chanting refund. And that's never good. Never, ever good. But here is the whole reason I wanted to bring this up and the whole reason why I wanted to make this point. And other than, I went on, that all this long diatribe, but the reason why I bring this whole thing up is when you are live in the audience, one of the best pieces of advice I got when I first got into the business, and it hasn't been that long, I will be the first to admit I've worked less than a handful of shows. Most guys have more time lacing boots than I have, running a promotion and putting everything together and being a backstage producer, creative, booking, etc., whatever you want to call it. But one of the most important pieces of advice I ever got was the worst thing that can happen to you as a performer is silence. So, as a fan, if I dislike something or something is not the way I envisioned it going, I'm silent. I'm not saying a word, right? Because the whole purpose of everything that a wrestling promotion does is to elicit emotion. Emotion or a feeling or a response in some way, shape, or form. So, when the crowd booed Roman Reigns out of the building every night, his merch is still selling like crazy. He is the face of your promotion. He's getting a reaction. Albeit it might not be the reaction that the company wants, but he's still getting it, and the money's still coming in. John Cena still sells merchandise like it's going out of style, and when was the last time John was in the ring for anything meaningful? It's been a long time. So, and there's a good example of this. I don't know if it was, I think it was Sunday at Hell in a Cell. When Bayley came down to the ring and she went to her left, camera right, and she pointed at somebody in the crowd and was like, do you want the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men? Kid's just sitting there, silent, arms folded. That is how you get what you want as a crowd. Shut the hell up. Like you're being busted for possession, shut your mouth. It's all you got to do. It's that simple. Stop watching, stop buying merchandise, and be quiet. The alternative to that is with a huge promotion like WWE. Like, for me, NXT is the best product they have. NXT is, or at least was, one of, if not the only thing that I watched on a regular basis. I would tune in and out of Raw. I would tune in and out of SmackDown. I just didn't care. Because I knew going into the pay-per-view that I was going to need everything I needed to know in the hour leading up. Plus, I didn't care. There were so few pieces of talent that were used on a regular basis that I wanted to see. I didn't care. NXT does a really good job of putting the faces that you want to see in front of you on a, at least, semi-regular basis. And it's not for an 8-second squash match. They're out there, they're showing them off. Hey, we signed, I don't know, El Hiro Di Fantasmo. It's his debut. Here he goes. Yeah, they might have him, work a 2, 3, 4, 5 minute squash match against a developmental talent or a local talent, whatever. But he's there, and he's being shown off. And so I will happily and wholeheartedly support NXT, AEW, Impact, etc., Ring of Honor, New Japan. They will elicit my emotions. They will elicit my responses. WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown will not. I cannot stress this enough. If you are a pro wrestling fan and you want change from your favorite promotion, shut up. Stop spending money. Don't buy merch. Don't buy tickets. Don't put your eyeballs in front of your screen. Because if the product sucks, why are you still watching? Why are you still interacting with it on social media? Why are you still buying t-shirts? If it's that bad, there is one thing that a publicly traded company will respond to, and that is losing shitloads of money very, very quick. The very first thing they will look at is any problems with the product. What is WWE's product? So, to turn a 20-minute rant and tirade into a 6-second synopsis, if you want real change from WWE, specifically from Vince McMahon and creative, stop doing stuff. Stop looking at it. Stop interacting with it. Don't tweet about it. Don't go to shopwwe.com and buy stuff. Just don't. Don't. If NXT is your bag and you love NXT, buy NXT shirts. Buy NXT tickets. Watch NXT TV. Then tune into AEW and don't watch Raw and don't watch SmackDown. To a lesser extent, don't watch the pay-per-views. If their streaming viewers on the network go down and their buy rates go down on their pay-per-views, they're definitely going to be paying attention. Definitely. I guarantee you. Do you think a network like Fox isn't going to be like Impact Wrestling was on Spike? When the product turned to garbage and people stopped watching, Spike didn't go, "Oh, it's okay." No. They said, "What the hell's wrong with your product? Fix it." Dixie Carter said, "I don't have the money to fix it, so sorry." And they said, "Well, you've got X days to turn it around or you're boned." They didn't do it. Spike dropped them like a bad habit. And they're on the TV Guide Network or wherever the hell they were before they went to AXS. And then she got the saving grace that was Billy Corgan to come in and kind of save her ass a little bit. The product was good, but nobody knew where the hell to find it, when it was on, how to watch it. So by then it was too late. WWE has enough resources behind it to where if they see even a moderate decline in what they're doing, if they see a moderate decline in sales, merch sales, ticket sales, etc., 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 they will make a change. There's a reason why pay-per-views and tickets for those pay-per-views back in post-WrestleMania, like May, June, July, there's a reason why a lot of those tickets were buy one, get one free. Because the product was trash and nobody was buying it. And they didn't want to have pay-per-views and Monday Night Raw post-pay-per-view and go-home shows that were to an empty house. So they gave you what you wanted until you fell back into that routine, and then they went right back to the old stuff. And they will continue to do whatever the hell they want and completely ignore you, the fan, because they're still getting a response from you. It was when people stopped showing up that they paid attention. So, there you go. 25 minutes wasted. I know it's a rant. I know it's a tirade. I apologize. But let's get into our game since I've wasted enough of your time already. We will go ahead and advance a day, and we'll talk about Final Resolution 08. The first match on the card, a Feast or Fired match, one of my favorite TNA matches. This is a match style that I really, really hope TNA can carry into this new AXS era, or WWE can do something like this, or AEW can do something similar to this, because it's a lot like Money in the Bank match, but there's a lot more to it. And it gives you something other than one guy getting one thing. Right? You had heavyweight championship opportunity in one case. You had the X Division title in one case. You had a World Tag Team title opportunity in one case. And you had a pink slip in one case. So in this particular matchup, you had Curryman, Hernandez, Homicide, Jay Lethal, Alex Shelley, BG James, Chris Sabin, Consequences Creed, Cute Kip, I still hate that name, Jimmy Rave, Lance Rock, Sanjay Dutt, and Shark Boy. So you had what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13 people in this match? It's a free-for-all. And it's a great way to get guys who, are at that mid-card level. The Apollo Cruzes of the world, the Ricochets, the Bobby Roodes, the Dolph Zigglers, guys who probably could be legitimate heavyweight title guys, but it gives them an opportunity to get a little bit of shine. Apollo Crews could grab that X Division title opportunity. He could grab the tag team title opportunity. You can book that to make some of these guys look great without having your main event guys get the shaft. Great style. So, the winners for the Feast or Fired match, Hernandez won the World Heavyweight title shot. Homicide won the X Division title shot. Jay Lethal got the tag team title opportunity. And Curryman, a.k.a. Christopher Daniels, got the pink slip. Next match was a 6-knockout tag team match. You had ODB, Roxy Laveau, and Taylor Wilde on one side. The Beautiful People and Queen Charmel on the other side. And the Beautiful People, Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, for those of you who don't know. And the ODB / Taylor Wilde train rolled on. Yeah, Taylor Wilde had... I don't know if she had like a huge, impressive, like mega, super, like indie resume, but from what, albeit very little research I've done on Taylor Wilde, she didn't really have the resume. She just kind of came in and took over Impact's women's division for a little while. And it was crazy, but good on her for doing that, I suppose. Next match, singles match for the X Division Championship. Eric Young would reclaim his X Division title, defeating the defending champion going into the match, Sheikh Abdul Bashir, a.k.a. Sean Davari, in an 8-minute match. And we'll get to one more before we move on and get back in game. The Women's Knockout Championship. The champion, Awesome Kong, would take on Christy Hemme. Christy would actually get the win in this one. However, it was by DQ. So, Awesome Kong retained the women's knockout title. 3 matches to go. We'll talk about them here in just a moment. We've got some unread emails waiting. And take a look at what's going on here. I thought it was Shaggy 2 Dope. Just 2 Dope is retiring. Brian Lawler, rest in peace, retires. Tony Atlas retires. Hikata's retiring. And a couple of shows. Also, Daichi Hashimoto is ready to come up, and WWE altered the terms of their offer to Carl Anderson. So we're at 15, 9, 10. We are at the top of the smart offer bracket. 2 years, because he's 40 years old, and I don't want to wait forever. I want to try to use Carl to get Luke Gallows and AJ on board. So they're at 14,260 for 4 years. I am willing to go to 3 years, and he's still saying he's got a better offer. So I will go to 16.5, I guess. I don't know why I'm still going up when I blew past 16.5 a minute ago. Okay, so 16.5, 3 years. I can live with that on that offer to Carl Anderson. Daichi Hashimoto, where is he in development? He is improving his overall skills. He's a mid-carder and developmental. So he's pretty much peaked, and he's a mid-carder and a super indie. Not what we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and let him go and turn him loose. All right, so one more night away from Impact, one night only. We'll go ahead and move on, and we'll talk about the last 3 matches of Final Resolution 2008. Tag Team Championships next up. The champions coming in, Beer Money, James Storm, and Bobby Roode with Jackie take on the kind of strange tag team combination of Abyss and Matt Morgan. Not really sure what the plan was for that tag team, like long term, but in the meantime, it worked out pretty well. However, not in this match, though. Beer Money would pick up the win over Abyss and Matt Morgan. The next match on the card was a very interesting match, a straight up singles match, 15 minutes. Kurt Angle and Rhino with Mick Foley as the special guest enforcer, even though at this point in his life, Mick Foley could barely move. I don't know. I mean, I know why they did it, but I mean, Mick was hurting at this stage of his life. So, and then Kurt Angle would beat Rhino in a straight up singles match. Shocker. Next up, the 8-man tag team match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So, I'm not exactly sure how this planned to work. I'm thinking that it was an 8-man tag, 4-on-4, and whomever pinned whomever. So, like, if it was the main event Mafia against TNA Frontline. So AJ for TNA Frontline, if he would have pinned Kevin Nash, he would have become the World Heavyweight Champion, even though Sting was the champion coming in. So you had the main event Mafia, Booker T, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, and Sting. Queen Charmel also there as well, against TNA Frontline, the Dudleys, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. The main event Mafia were sort of a heel faction at the time. And Sting would retain his championship over the TNA Frontline tag team. So there you go. That is Final Resolution 2008. Meh kind of pay-per-view. I wasn't enthralled with it, but it is what it is. All right, so let's turn the page to our game. Lots and lots of retirements. Disco Inferno. Thought I saw Great Khali. Yep, I did. Khali's retiring. Tiger Ali Singh retiring. Shane Sewell. I thought he was young. Oh, guess not. 47. Dougie Gilbert. Hanging him up. Bill Eady's hanging him up. Hell of a talent. All right. So let's run our medical. We know Alex Shelley's hurt. Eddie Edwards is almost back. 2 more days. We have a clean roster. Everybody's healthy. And we'll run it. The next pay-per-view that we're going to talk about when we chronicle the TNA pay-per-views is Genesis 2009. The January 2009 pay-per-view from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Bojangles Coliseum. And we'll talk about that here real quick, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. It would be Kiyoshi would make his TNA debut. Akira Kawabata, also he goes by Sushi, and Akira Raijin. Speaking of Shane Sewell, he was on this card as well, making excuse me, his TNA pay-per-view debut. Jeff Jarrett would return. And I think that was about it in terms of debuting people. We also had the X Division Championship was vacated with that whole Eric Young nonsense. So there was the tournament final for the X Division Championship on this one. Okay, so we'll talk about that in episode number 56. Right now, Coliseo de Puerto Rico is home to our Impact One Night Only. We do have a good portion of the card already played out, or mapped out, I guess I should say. We have our women's division match. And that will feature Mandy Rose against Billie Kay. And that is for the Women's Championship. We can stretch that out a little bit, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's booked out. We also had another women's match with Asuka and Shayna Baszler. There's Asuka and Shayna Baszler. So I want to get these booked out. And we'll go ahead and book out the women's division. Whoops. I forgot to put Amy on the job. There we go. Alright, so we'll move that one back. And I don't have any other specific women's matches set in stone. So let's run some out here. We'll do a 6-way. And let's use Tessa Blanchard, Sonya Deville, wow, these guys do not have very good momentum going. Su Yung. Let's use Rosemary. Let's do Candice LeRae and Kiera Hogan. We'll do a number 1 contenders match for the women's title, and whoever wins this match will take on the winner of Mandy Rose and Billie Kay. Okay. Ever since we took out the carpet upstairs, it sounds like the dogs are breaking the house to pieces. 4, 6, 7 people. Alright, so we've got 7 women left. Alright, and we'll do... let's do a tag match, and then we'll do a triple threat match. We'll do 1 pre-show, 1 post. So for the tag teams, let's do Io Shirai and Kairi Sane against Chelsea Green and Rhea O'Reilly. No idea why I'm booking these tag teams like this. But getting booked that way nonetheless. Alright, now we'll do the triple threat to round out our women's division. Arisa Nakajima, Bea Priestley, and Britt Baker. DDS. She really is a dentist, by the way. If you didn't know that. That's a legit thing. Alright, so there we go. Our women's division is all set. Now let's focus on our tag team division. Get those all squared away. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Because we have 2 specific tag team matches that will get some attention. The first is our tag team championship, and that would be your boys, The New Day, against Violent Conduct. Michael Elgin and Sami Callihan. So Kofi's already, I think, he's a 2-time world champ. He's been the X Division champion. And he's been, I think he's been the grand champion. Maybe not. If not, we'll have to Grand Slam him for sure. Alright, so that one's all booked out. Brian Armstrong is going to be the road agent for that one. That'll be awesome. Okay, and then the next tag match we had was a fatal four-way. And we had the Coffee Brothers, we had the Briscoes, we have OVE, and we have the Young Bucks. And we'll dial this one back a little bit, I think. And we'll go... No. We'll work the crowd, keep it open, and a decisive winner. And I think I want Road Dogg, Tag Team Specialist. Keeping an eye on things for us here. Come on, pen. My ink pen picked the most awesomest time in the world to stop working. There we go. Okay. Now let's finish up our championship matches. We have a fatal four-way on the books. We've got Seth Rollins. We've got Cody Rhodes. We've got TJP. And we've got Bray Wyatt. And that is for... Seth's got to be stripped of his title. Because that is for the World Championship. And I'm going to try to stretch... No, let's not go that long. Let's go there. We'll slow build it nonetheless. And we will vacate Seth's Grand Championship. So that means it's time for an Impact Grand Championship tournament. Yay! Alright. Next up, straight up one-on-one match. Rich Swann and Jon Moxley. Non-title bout, but a good one nonetheless. Okay. Next up, we've got Adam Cole, baby, versus Bobby Fish. And that is for the vacant X Division Championship. No, this is for the vacant Grand Championship, I believe. Guess we're gonna need to find that out, ain't we? Where's my tournament bracket? Bring up my tournament bracket. Yeah, I'm using an Excel spreadsheet. Deal with it. Yep, Impact Grand Championship. So close, yet so far away. Okay, and then that means that Mox and Swann is for the X Division Championship. I knew there was something funky about that match. I had it, I just didn't have the right notes. Alright. Next, we've got Kenny Omega and Dalton Castle for the television title. Where the hell's Dalton Castle? There he is. Oops, can't slow build that. There we go. We should probably start spacing out some of these women's matches so they're not like back to back to back to back to back. Okay, so that wraps up all of our championship matches. And now we've got some matches that are backfilled. We've got Jay White versus Pac. As we continue to try to get Jay White his due, get him that excuse me, that big push. And then we've got Penta versus Ricochet, which could theoretically steal the show. Very excited for this match. It's not my main event, though. Actually, I think I might have it open. Okay, then we've got 3 more singles matches. And then we have a 5-way. Alright, so the first one is Johnny Impact and Adam Page. And I really, really, really want Adam Page to win this one. I want to start giving Page a push. Yeah. Alright, next is Phoenix and Will Ospreay. You know, I'm actually really pleased with the fact that the Lucha Brothers are no longer the tag team champions, because it gives me an opportunity to show off Phoenix and Penta as singles competitors. Alright, then we've got Davey Richards and Jay Lethal, which I'm kind of looking forward to. There we go. Oops. There we go. So we'll go ahead and line that up. Alright, and then finally we have a Fatal 5-way. Let's do a 5-way elimination match. Why not? So we've got Devion Everhart, Desmond Xavier, Flip Gordon, Marty Scurll, Shawn Spears. Little mid-card magic for us. And we'll keep it open. Go all out. And decisive win. Alright, so there's our card. We've got 17 total matches. 200 minutes. Let's pull the trigger, see what we got. Impact one night only. Here we go. We get a D out of our dark match, which is fine. Ricochet and Penta give us a 0, or a B. Our Fatal 5-Way was okay with a B-, a B from Phoenix and Will Ospreay. B- from our Fatal 4-Way Tag Match. The Briscoes got the win in that one. Jon Moxley becomes the new X Division champion with the win over Rich Swann. B- for that one. B- for our women's #1 contender match for our next pay-per-view. Su Yung is the new #1 contender. I need to write that down before I forget. In a B- match, Davey Richards and Jay Lethal. Davey picks up the win there. Asuka beats Shayna Baszler via the pinfall. B- rating. Johnny Impact and Adam Page got us a C+. Not sure what happened there. Kenny Omega defends the TV title over Dalton Castle with a B rating. Jay White defeats Pac, which we had it set up for that to happen. Billie Kay defends her title against Mandy Rose in a B-. So we'll have Billie Kay versus Su Yung for the women's title at our next pay-per-view. New Day, Violent Conduct. B- rating, and Violent Conduct retain. Good on them. Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, not all that great. A C rating. Adam Cole wins the Grand Championship. And our main event, Seth Rollins becomes the new Impact World Champion with a B-rated main event, defeating Bray Wyatt, TJP, and Cody Rhodes. So Seth cashes in. He becomes the first person to cash in that world title opportunity and win. Wow, that is impressive. And a D+ on our dark match post. Kairi and Io Shirai beat Chelsea Green and Rhea O'Reilly. We go to a B-, increasing our popularity. 37 regions we increased our popularity in this one. And no real standout match of the night. So I guess we will give it to the guys who won titles. Adam Cole. We'll give it to Seth Rollins. And Jon Moxley. All right, there we go. We ran on the same night as SummerSlam, so we'll see how that impacted our buy rate. Our buy rates have been getting better. Been getting much better. Hello. Okay. Ooh, Dustin on his way out of AEW. That's sad. I wish I had a place for him, because that would be great. SummerSlam 2020 was great. Aleister Black put on the performance. Johnny Impact is salty. because I gave Jay White the win. Now he's just moderately annoyed. It's funny how money will do that. If I had an extra $10,000 from my boss, I probably wouldn't be as salty. All right. Eddie Edwards comes back in 2 days just in time to return to Impact Wrestling TV. TJP needs some time to heal. Cody needs some time to heal. Mandy Rose. And our buy rate of 1.92. Let's compare that to Destination X, which was a 2.05 and a sellout. So kind of fell off a little bit that month, but we'll keep at it. Our buy rates are still pretty consistent. And we are now at 6 regions. So 2 more to go. Puerto Rico, the Southwest, Mid-Atlantic, Great Lakes are our best shot at bumping up our popularity. So we'll keep an eye on those and get up that national level that'll help us compete with some of the top names in the business. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. As I mentioned, tomorrow's episode number 56, we will have Impact TV and we'll talk Genesis 2009. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Be excellent.